Hello everyone, welcome back to Code with Beto. In this video, we're gonna learn how to create a beautiful splash screen for our React Native application. And for this, we're gonna use Lottie files. And for those who don't know, Lottie files, it's a platform that gives us a bunch of animations. So in this platform, you can hire a designer or someone to make an animation custom for you, or you can simply come here, create an account, and use free animations that they offer. For example, if we go to discover right here, we can see free ready to use animations. So I'm going to select this one and we can use whatever we want from here. Of course, it's cool always say thanks to the creators and contributors of these animations. So that's why here in this demo, I'm putting the name of these persons. So for example, Travis Gregory was the person who made this success animation, which is really cool. And yeah, so the way this works is you have to select, well, specifically for React Native, you have to select the animation that you want. Then you copy this link, open a new tab, paste this link, and you're gonna have the JSON for this animation, right? So we're gonna use a library for React Native called Lottie React Native, I believe. Then we can just copy this JSON by pressing Command A, then Command C. You copy this JSON file, then you paste it on a file on your Visual Studio project. Now, once you have that, we can use it in our application. And we have a bunch of animations here for free, some of them. And for example, here I just put splash, and we have these nice animations for your application when it's loading, right? So let's check out the demo that I have here. I'm gonna move this out of the way, and I'm going to reload this application. As you can see, this works for Android and iOS as well. We have this beautiful splash animation, and then we have this nice and smooth fading animation to show the list of animations that I have here in the text, right? So let's put it again. I'm going to reload these applications, and we have that nice and smooth transition. This is crucial to provide a nice user experience. To have these kind of animations can change the feeling of your application and the usage of your application. So let's check out the animations that I have here. I already showed this by Travis Gregory. Then we also have confetti. I believe confetti is one of the more, I would say, animations that we would use in many applications. And of course, this also works in Android. We can play these animations. This is basically a loading animation. And finally, I have these hearts, right? And these are just some animations that I found. Of course, we can have many and many. You just need to go to Lottie files and just copy the animation that you want, and you're gonna be set. All right. So now that we know how this is going to work and where are we getting our animations from, we can start creating this project on React Native. Okay, guys. So the first thing that we need to do is create our React Native application. So I'm gonna run the command npx React Native init, and I'm gonna call this project Lottie tutorial, as you can see here. And this is gonna take a little bit, so I'm going to wait and then we can continue. Okay, guys, so I'm creating this application and this command failed. And this is a pretty common error that you get when you're creating a new React Native application. And this is the version of the CocoaPods in my machine. So the way we fix this is just we can get into the Lottie tutorial, and then we can run the command bundle install. And this is going to use the Ruby version that we need to run this project for iOS. All right. So now let's wait until this is done. All right, and it's ready. So I'm going to clear this terminal. And now we can open this on Visual Studio Code by run the command code dot. All right, here we have our brand new project. As you can see, we are using TypeScript because it's default when we create a React Native application nowadays after version, I believe, 0.7.1. So now we can run this on iOS and Android. We can run the command yarn start simply, and then we can press I to run it on iOS. Okay, so I was trying to run this project on iOS, but I'm getting an error, and I believe it's because we need to go again into the iOS folder and run the command pod install. And now we need to wait a little bit until the pods are installed. All right, now it's ready. Let's see if this works now. I'm gonna say yarn iOS to run it directly on iOS. And let's wait a little bit. Okay, I don't know why I'm getting this error, but I believe we can run this project just getting into the iOS folder, and then we can say open Lottie tutorial .xcode workspace. So this is going to open Xcode, and then we can try to run the application from Xcode. I don't know if this is just a problem for my computer. I'm going to select the iPhone 14 Pro here, and then I'm just going to hit play. Let's wait to see if this works. Okay, and that worked. So now I'm going to just move this Xcode out of the way, and you can see that the application now is running. So I'm going to close this terminal or just put it down for now. And the first thing that I want to do is clear a little bit my app. So I'm going to select everything and just delete it. And I'm going to start by importing all as React from React. I'm going to say React from React. And we can simply say export default function app. And because we are using TypeScript, we can add the return value of this component, which is going to be a JSX.element. And now we need to return a JSX element, right? Which is going to be a view that we are going to import from React Native. And I'm going to delete these types in here. And now we can put a text, for example, from React Native as well, that says Lottie tutorial. Now let's hit save, and you can see that it's working. The text is all the way up here. And well, let's leave it like that for now. We know that this is working now. And the first thing that I want to do is install the dependencies that we're going to be using, right? So like I mentioned before, we're going to be using Lottie. So I'm going to add using yarn Lottie React Native, right? So this dependency is going to help us to integrate the animations. And we're also going to need to install React Native Reanimated. So I want to say yarn add. And this reanimated library is going to help us to just make the smooth fading transition after we present the splash animation, right? So we need to also add this dependency to add this nice fading animation. And once this is done, we need to make a little bit of configuration specifically for the library reanimated. So let's go to the Babel config, and we need to add the following plugin, which is going to be React Native Reanimated plugin. Let's hit save. Once this is done, we need to make sure that you restart your server because we changed this babel.config file. But before we do that, we need to install the pod dependencies for iOS. So I'm going to cd into my iOS folder, and I'm going to run the command pod install again, right? We need to install these two pods, which is Lottie for iOS and Lottie React Native, and as well Reanimated for this library. So now I'm going to restart my server. If you remember, I have my Xcode here, so I'm going to stop this application. And now I believe, because I already have this Lottie tutorial down here, this application, we can just run yarn start, and we can pass the flag reset cache to make sure that we don't have anything in memory that can cause an error. And our server is running again, so we can just get into the Lottie tutorial application, and it's loading. So we don't need Xcode this time. And it's building, and it worked. So I think it's working. So I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to close it, and let's start by creating some screens in order to show these animations. So first, let's go here and create a folder called source. And inside this folder, we can have another folder called screens. And inside screens, we can have our splash screen. So I'm going to say splash.tsx. And let's start by creating this splash screen. So the first thing that I'm going to import is going to be React. And then we can say export default function splash. This component for now is going to return a view from React Native. So let's import that from React Native, and let me delete this type. Of course, we can also add here jsx.element because we are using TypeScript. And inside this view, we can have our Lottie view, right? So we are going to need to import Lottie view from Lottie React Native. Once that's imported, we can use it down here. So I'm going to say Lottie view, and Lottie view is going to take a couple of things. If I just leave it like that, we're gonna get this error, and we need to specify some things. The first thing is the source of the JSON. Like I mentioned before, we need to copy the JSON of our animations. If you recall, once you choose your application, you can copy this JSON, right? So let's say that I already have the JSON that I want to copy. So I'm going to create a folder called assets. And inside this folder assets, I'm going to create a new file, JSON file, that is going to be the animation that I want. In this case, it's a wave loading, right? So once I have that, I can just go here and tell my Lottie view that the source is going to be equal to require, and we're going to put the file to assets and then wave loading.json. That's the only property required for Lottie view, but you can specify many things like autoplay. If you want your animation to autoplay whenever it's mounted, you can do that. You can also say loop equal to false in this case because we don't want to have a loop. But you can also say true, of course. You can also have a resize mode for your animation, and we can say cover, for example, in this case, because we want to cover the whole screen, right? And also we have access to events. For example, if I put on, you can see that we have on animation finish, on animation loop, and on layout. So the one that we are going to use here, it's animation finish, and you're going to see why in a moment. So for now, I'm going to comment it, and just I'm going to add some styles for this view. And because I'm feeling a little bit lazy, I'm going to add these styles in line here. And you just have to make sure that this Lottie view has enough space to show, right? So we are going to say flex one, which is going to have this view to take the whole screen, right? All the space that it's available is going to take it if we say flex one. Then we can align items to the center. And just to make sure that we don't have any margins, we can say margin 0, right? Now let's hit save, and let's try to use this splash screen in our app. So I'm going to change this view, and I'm going to say splash. As you can see, it's imported. And if I hit save now, and once we reload the application, you can see that we are going to have this animation, right? And in this case, this animation is going to be called initiative company.js. And let's say that we want this to be a loop. So I'm going to say through here, and let's reload the application. And now we're going to have this animation running over and over again, right? Perfect. So now let's say that we are going to be fetching some data while we are showing this splash screen. And all this logic, I'm going to put it here in the app.js, right? So we're going to have a variable called is loading and set is loading. We're going to be using use state from React. So I'm going to say react.useState. And let me just close this Explorer for now. This state, the first value is going to be equal to true because we want to be loading the first time, right? Let's say that we're going to fetch the user. So now, because we are using TypeScript, I'm going to say that this is a Boolean just to make sure that we have our types correctly. Now, inside this return, we can have a validation. If it's loading, we're going to show the splash screen. Otherwise, we're going to show our home screen, for example, right? So let's go quickly to our screens folder and create a home screen. So I'm going to say home.tsx. And this home.tsx is just to export the full function home like this. Home, don't forget to add the JSX element type, and then return for now just a view from React Native. All right, so this view is not going to have anything. Just leave it like that for now. Let's go back to the app and we can say that otherwise we can show the home screen, right? So now how we can change this variable, let me close, how we can change this loading value in order to go to the home screen. So we want to change that when the splash screen is finishing loading. So we can say, we can pass the set is loading setter as a property to the splash screen. So let's say set is loading like this. And now we're gonna get an error because Splash is not getting any props. So I'm gonna put Splash in this side and we can see, we can define these properties in here. So I'm going to create an interface and this interface is going to be called Splash Props. Splash Props is going to take set is loading and we know that this is a setter function. So we're going to need the type dispatch from React, and this is going to have a set state action from React as well. And this set state action is going to be a Boolean, remember? Now we need to close this one like this. And these are the props that we're gonna get, right? So now inside this splash screen, we can say that set is loading. We can say that we're gonna be using set is loading and the type of this set is loading is going to be splash props. If I hit save now, you can see that we don't have the error anymore because now we are getting this property inside Splash. Perfect. So inside Splash, I'm going to bring it here. Now we can use this set is loading function. So now we're going to be using this event on animation finish, and we are going to simply say set is loading equal to false because let's say that it's not loading anymore, right? So I'm going to remove the loop. I'm going to say false. And once the animation is done, we're going to go to the home screen. Now we're not going to see anything at the moment, but if I add a text that says hello home, we should be able to see that once I add this import. If I hit save now, we see the animation, then we go to home screen. Perfect. Now, of course, you can change whatever you want inside this splash screen. You can change the colors. You can do that in Lottie files platform. But for now, let's just leave it like that. Now, let's say that we want to have more animations, right? So inside the home screen, we can have a list of animations. So I'm going to create another folder inside my source, and this folder is going to be called components. And I'm going to create a component to render each animation, right? So we don't have to do that many times. So this component is going to be called Lottie component, Lottie container.tsx, and now let's start by, as always, export default function Lottie container. This is going to be a JSX element, and it's going to return for now, let's say a view, right? Let's import that view from React Native. And let me remove these types. I don't know what is wrong with my auto imports. Yeah, so now that we have this Lottie container, we can bring all the animations that we want to have. Okay, so in this case, I already bring the animations that I want to show inside my assets folder. Once we have that, we can have a list. Now inside this Lottie container, we know that we're gonna get a name, a source, an author for each animation that we want to show. So I'm going to declare a type, and I'm going to use this type as well in my home screen. So that's why I'm going to export it. I'm gonna say export interface, and this type is going to be Lottie container props, right? So we're gonna get a name, which is type string. We're also gonna get a source, source, which is going to be type string as well. Author, which is string. And finally, we're gonna get a path, which is string. And this path is going to be basically the route to our file, right? So now that we have this, we can go to the home screen, and down here, I'm going to paste these values that I already copied from the platform, Lottie platform. In this case, we're using a Lottie container props. So I need to import this. I'm gonna say quick fix, add import. Remember that we are exporting this interface. It's a type. So in this case, we have an array of Lottie container props, right? And we are going to iterate through this array to show the animations. As you can see, I have this success, and I need to delete this because I don't have this extra folder anymore. So you gotta make sure that you have your correct route. If I hit save now we can start iterating over these animations. So let's start by changing this view for a safe area view from React Native. If I hit save now, you can see that this text now it's in the safe area. Now let's create a scroll view from React Native as well. And inside this scroll view, we're going to iterate for each animation. So animation.map, we want to iterate for each animation, and we are going to grab the index of each animation as well. So I'm gonna have this animation like this. And we are going to return a Lottie container for each animation, right? So we can say Lottie container. Perfect. Now, if I hit save now, we are not going to see anything because Lottie container doesn't render anything at the moment. Let's leave it like that for a second. And now I'm going to create a text in here that is going to say for now, welcome back. Of course, you can change this for whatever you want to use in your application. And I'm going to add a style very quickly. I'm going to say font size of 32 and font weight of bold. If I hit save now, we now have this welcome back. And I want to center this text. So text align center like this. Nice. Now let's see how it's looking in our application. I'm gonna say reload. We now have this nice animation. Then we get into the home screen. And if you see, I'm getting an error because I'm not adding a key, and the key is going to be the index. So now we don't get that warning anymore. And the thing that I want to do here is I want to transition, I want to fade in this text and this list that we're gonna have here, because now after we show this splash screen, we show everything like in one hit, and it's looking bad. The way we do that, it's using React Reanimated. So I'm going to import animated from React Native Reanimated. If you remember, we installed this dependency at the beginning. And now we can import fade in from React Native Reanimated. And you're gonna see now how this works. First of all, I'm going to change these scroll views to be animated. So I'm gonna say animated.scroll view. And now we can simply say entering, which is the event when the component mounts. And what do we want to do when this happens? We want to say fade in. And also fade in has some methods that you can play with. But if I leave this like this and now try to reload the application, you're gonna see that the home screen is fading in at this moment. We can add, for example, a duration of 500 milliseconds. And let's try to reload this again after we show this splash screen. Now we have this nice fading animation. Perfect. Now let's pass for each Lottie container all the properties that has each animation, which is name, source, author, and path. If I hit save now we can go to the Lottie container and say that we are getting these properties, right? So let's say name, source, right? And all this is going to be of type Lottie container props. Now we don't have that error. Perfect. Now inside this view, we can simply show the name of the author, for example, just to see if this is working. And of course, I'm getting this error because I need to wrap this in a text from React Native and delete this and paste it here. And if I hit save now, we can see that we have the names of the persons that we are showing, right? So now let's go back to the home, and I'm going to add a style to this safe area view because I want to keep the background color that we are showing in our splash animation. So I'm gonna say here background color, and the background color that I want to show is this one. And now we need to add a flex. So we use the whole screen like this. Perfect. Now let's see how this looks. We show the animation, we get this color, and then we just translate or transition fade in, right? Now, we can have this text white as well. We can simply say color white and hit save. Perfect. All right, so it's looking good. Now we can start working in our container. So inside my container, my Lottie container, I want to show each, or I want to play each animation. So we're gonna need some state, right? So I'm going to say const show and set show. And this is going to use state from React. So we import it like this. This is going to be at the beginning true. And just to make sure that we have everything typed correctly, this is going to be a Boolean. Perfect. Now the second thing that I want to do is add a fragment so we can add everything inside this fragment. For those who don't know, fragment is basically like a view, but it's not going to show any node in the tree when it's rendering. So we can have many things inside this fragment. Yeah, let's save this for now. And now inside this view, we are going to have a Lottie view, right? But we need to add some styles. Remember that I told you that when you have, for example, this Lottie view inside the splash screen, we need to add a container in order to contain this animation, right? So we need a view and then the Lottie view. So let's go back to the container and add a style for this view. I'm going to say style equal to styles, and I'm going to need to create this variable styles. Styles dot, and I'm going to name this one Lottie. Now let's go back down here and create these styles very quickly, importing style sheets from React Native dot create, and let's create this Lottie container, right? This is going to be lowercase like this. Perfect. Now I'm going to define a width and height for my container. So let's say width of 200 and height of 200. Align self-center because I want it to be centered. All right. Now we have that. We can simply add inside this view a Lottie view, right? So let's go up here and import Lottie view from Lottie React Native like this. Now let's go back down here, and inside this view, we can say Lottie view. And now we can simply say source equal to path, which is the path to the file. And as you can see now, they are showing. Now we need to specify other things like autoplay. We want to autoplay whenever the component mounts. We want to loop equal to false because we don't want to be playing this over and over again. And resize mode, I'm going to say contain. Now let's try to reload this and see what happens. After we get this animation, we can see these animations, and they're going to stay there because we are not hiding them, right? So now we need to say show, and we just want to show this Lottie view if show is equal to true. So we can simply say if show, it's just simply show this view. Now let's say that whenever we finish playing this animation, we want to hide this animation so we can access to the on animation finish event, and we can simply say set show equal to false, right? So now if I hit save now and reload the application again, we're gonna have this nice animation, and once they are done, they are going to disappear. As you can see, the hearts are the ones that last longer, and at the end they disappear as well. Now let's add a button down here from React Native, and the title of this button is going to be play like this. And of course I need to add these curly braces because I'm going to be using backticks, because I want to add the name of the person who created this animation. And so I'm going to say name, right? If I hit save now, we can see the name of the animation, and then we can add the author like this. If I hit save now, we can say play success by Travis. And then when we press this, we can have an on press event, and we can simply say set show equal to true. If I hit save now, and now I'm going to play this success, you can see that we can play this success. But now, once the animation is done, it's going to disappear. And I want to add a delay, right? So we can simply wrap this inside a set timeout. So set timeout, and the timeout is going to be of 1 second, or we can say just 500 milliseconds. And after this time, we want to set it show equal to true. Now, if I play success again, nothing is happening. And this is because I'm adding this set timeout to the button, but I want to add it to this function whenever it's done. So I'm going to simply cut this and paste it here. Now I hit save and let's try to play it. We wait 1 second and then the animation disappears, which makes it look better, right? Right, so now that we have this, we can simply add another button. I'm going to copy this, and this button is going to show a link to a website, right? We want to take the person to the website and see the animation in the Lottie platform. So now we can change this title to simply be go to website, and whenever the user presses, we are going to link the user to the Safari or the web browser explorer to see this application. So we can use linking for that. When I say linking from React Native dot open URL, and the URL is going to be the source that we are getting as property right here, right? Now, this is an async, or we need to await for this, right? So we need to change this function to be async, and we can say await. All right, if I hit save now, we can see that we have the website here. So I'm gonna press it and it's gonna take me to the Lottie files website, and it's going to show me this animation. If I go back and let's say that I want to see these hearts, let's go to website. We can see the author, we can see the animation, and we can see everything. Perfect. Now we can go back to the application. And basically that's it, guys. So now we have this beautiful splash screen and then this nice and smooth fade in animation to show our beautiful UI. Of course, you can improve this. But now, once we have this like this, we can just go to the splash screen, for example, and change this to be hearts. Hit save. And let's try to reload this. And we have the hearts as splash screen, which looks pretty good. Let's imagine that we are creating a, a Tinder clone or something like that. And we have this beautiful loading screen. Of course, you can add some text in here. For example, let's say text. And let's see, we're gonna need to add some style. I'm gonna say font size of 32 and then font weight of I don't know, 900. I want this to be, well, maybe 800. I want this to be very, very bold. Let's reload. And of course, I didn't add anything. We can say lovers, for example, that is an application that I created. Reload. And we cannot see that because this is a view. So I'm going to change this to be a safe area view and then save area view here. Let's try to reload finally again. And we have these lovers, plus you can say it's loading, plus you can say whatever you want to the user, and then fading into your home screen. And yeah, guys, this is basically what I wanted to show you. Remember that you can go to the Lottie files and play with this. Just search for whatever you want and maybe they have some, or you can hire some designer. And finally, you can go to my platform Code with Beto. And if you go to projects, you can find this source code if you want to play with it. You can find it here and make your own, right? Of course, finally, as a side note, if you want to master React Native, you can check out my course. Of course, one important thing is that this course is in Spanish, so be careful with that. And that's it, guys. That's all I wanted to show you. That's all I have for today. I hope you like this video. Please don't forget to give it a like, smash the like button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think about this video. And if you want me to make a special video or a video talking about something in specific, let me know in the comments. And otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.